Chosen One, this is a divine alert. This message was destined to find you today. This is not random. This is a sacred appointment. You felt like an outsider in rooms where everyone else seemed to fit, like a puzzle piece that never quite clicked. You've carried a longing so deep it hurt, convinced something essential had been taken from you at birth. You're not crazy, and you're not alone. Your soul has been crying out for a truth far greater than ordinary life. Tonight, hidden threads of your destiny begin to unravel, revealing the royal heritage woven into your very blood. Skepticism may whisper that lineage is just a story, but the stirrings in your heart know otherwise. If this message already speaks to your soul, subscribe, like this video, and comment 77 below. What you're about to hear will awaken the royalty they hid from you. And once you know there's no turning back, divine displacement. You felt the sting of being on the outside for as long as you can remember, never quite fitting into the patterns of the world around you, your deepest thoughts and feelings running too deep for idle chatter and superficial bonds. You know the ache of trying to mask your sensitivity so others wouldn't call you fragile, the burn of tongues that labeled your empathy a weakness, and the tightness in your chest whenever someone suggested you were overthinking or too dramatic. It's in those moments, when you wondered if there was something inherently wrong with you, that your soul quietly cried out for belonging. If you've ever felt like an alien in your own home, disconnected from the laughter and ease of friendship, know that you are not alone, and what you're experiencing is far more significant than mere misplacement. It is a divine displacement, a sacred signpost pointing to your true heritage. Your journey through alienation hasn't been a random series of misfortunes, but a purposeful displacement that set you apart for a higher mission. Perhaps you recall the awkward silences at gatherings, the labels of too intense or too quiet, the unanswered invitations, and the friendships that faded when you revealed too much of your soul. In those perfect storms of rejection, your self-worth was tested, each brush-off carving new scars on your heart. You may have wrestled with self-doubt, questioning whether your gifts, your vivid imagination, deep intuition, and compassionate heart were actually curses rather than blessings. The emotional weight of wanting to belong but never finding your place brought confusion, despair, and a hollow ache for purpose. Yet beneath that pain lay an untouched reservoir of identity, waiting to be unearthed and honored. Then came the moment when you began to sense that this displacement was part of a grander design. In the seldom cited verse of Ezekiel 2 verse 6, God tells the prophet, "Do not be afraid of them, nor be afraid of their words. Though briars and thorns are with you, and you dwell among scorpions, do not be afraid of their words or dismayed by their looks, for they are a rebellious house." This passage reassures you that living among those who don't understand you serves a divine purpose, to protect you from conforming to rebellion and to sharpen your prophetic voice. Your sense of being out of step with the world was not a defect, but divine preparation. Every barbed comment and every sideways glance were like pruning shears trimming away the branches that would hinder the growth of your true calling. As you embraced this new perspective, you began to notice both subtle and profound shifts in your life. You started to recognize that every time you felt alone, you were actually being positioned to perceive truths that others missed in the crowd. When you retreated from empty conversation, you gained clarity on the whispers of your own spirit. Your sensitivity, once a source of shame, became your compass for empathy. You found yourself drawn to help those in pain, offering solace where others walked past. Opportunities arose that aligned directly with your deeper purpose. A chance to write, to speak, to guide. Doors that remained invisible to those chasing popularity and superficial success. These were not coincidences, but signs of divine timing creating a pathway for you to step into. Behind those visible shifts, powerful forces were orchestrating your ascent. Your pain, instead of isolating you permanently, acted as a beacon calling forth allies, mentors, friends, and kindred spirits who recognized your unique gifts and championed your vision. In the lesser-known narrative of 1 Kings 19 verses 15 to 16, Elijah is told, "Arise, go to the wilderness of Damascus, and when you arrive, anoint Hazael and Jehu and Elisha." Each figure appears at a precise moment to carry forward the prophet's work. Likewise, your divine displacement summoned helpers and resources precisely when you needed them, building a network of support to guide you toward your destiny. Every act of faith you uttered in the lonely hours set wheels in motion in the unseen realm. Now you stand at the threshold where awareness of your divine displacement must become deliberate acceptance. Many recoil here, convinced that embracing their difference will only bring fresh pain or renewed misunderstanding. They yearn for the comfort of fitting in rather than stepping into the light that their displacement has prepared them for. Yet true alignment calls for wholehearted embodiment of your chosen separation. This is your sacred moment, to choose not to hide your sensitivity, but to wield it as a source of strength, not to mute your voice, but to amplify the truths that arise from your deepest awareness. It is here that you decide to stand firm in the knowledge that your path, though unconventional, leads straight to the heart of your purpose. Feel the empowerment that comes when you claim your divine displacement as proof of your royalty. Release every last tendril of shame and declare, "I am set apart for a sacred mission." Let your next steps reflect this truth. Share your story fearlessly in communities longing for authenticity. Cultivate practices that deepen your spiritual sensitivity and mentor those who now look to you for guidance in their own displacement. Surround yourself with those who honor your soul's alignment and graciously distance from voices that would shrink your light. Your alienation was never an accident. It was a divine displacement marking you as heir to a higher throne. Every pang of loneliness, every moment you felt out of place, pointed to a heritage hidden from ordinary view. Stand now, anchored in the truth that your sensitivity is your crown, your displacement your invitation to greatness. Comment displaced if you recognize how your pain has pointed to a hidden throne, and step boldly into the unfolding revelation of your sacred identity. The test of separation. You remember the ache of being cast out, not just once, but time and again, as if every circle you tried to join closed its gates behind you. In classrooms where laughter echoed, you sat in silence, convinced your voice had no place. At gatherings, you found yourself on the fringes, smiling through the discomfort, while your heart longed for acceptance. In the quiet of your room, you wrestled with the sting of exclusion, wondering if there was something inherently wrong with your spirit. You wondered if this sense of isolation was a curse rather than a calling. Yet in these very moments of loneliness lies the hidden significance of separation. You are not alone in feeling abandoned. You're among a chosen few whose solitude serves a higher purpose. Tonight, you will discover how every act of distancing was not meant to dim your light, but to turn that light inward, forging strength and clarity in the crucible of divine design. In those dark hours, you wrestled with confusion and rejection, grappling with questions that stole your rest. You watched relationships fracture under the weight of your differences, felt the cold shoulder of friends who could not bear the heat of your convictions, and experienced the crushing disappointment of hopes deferred. Every invitation you once received seemed to vanish, and every instance of camaraderie eroded into awkward silences. The weight of these experiences pressed upon your soul like an anchor, plunging you into despair. You feared that your gifts, your intense empathy, your vivid intuition, your deep sense of purpose, were actually barriers, severing you from the very community you longed to serve. Each passing day of isolation felt like another brick in a wall designed to keep you from the world, breeding questions. Could your destiny truly emerge from such profound abandonment? Then came a revelation that shifted everything. A moment when the pain of separation revealed itself as a divine lesson rather than a random misfortune. In the lesser-known promise of Jeremiah 23 verse 3, God declares, "I will gather the remnant of my flock and bring them back to their fold, and they shall be fruitful and multiply." This verse illuminates separation as both trial and promise. Though you wandered alone, you were never forsaken. Every moment spent apart from familiar faces was part of a divine curriculum to refine your heart, to clarify your vision, and to prepare you for the moment when you would lead others home. You realized that the loneliness was not a sentence, but an invitation to discover inner reserves of courage and faith you never knew you had, preparing you to shepherd souls through their own wilderness seasons. As this new understanding took root, you began to notice subtle but undeniable shifts in your reality. What once felt like abandonment now revealed itself as direction. The broken relationships opened doors to new alliances that resonated more deeply with your mission. The silences that once echoed loneliness now encouraged you to listen for the voice of your soul, and the distance from old circles provided the space you needed to cultivate authentic self-worth. You found that the very edges of your life, places where you felt most cut off, became vantage points from which you could see patterns others missed. Your introspection deepened, and you began to map a path not defined by the expectations of others, but by the stirrings of your own spirit. These were not coincidences, but the visible evidence of divine timing, aligning circumstances to mirror your inward transformation. Beneath these visible transformations, unseen forces were at work, clearing the way for your elevation. Your momentary isolation acted as a beacon to spiritual allies, summoning support in ways you could not yet perceive. In the obscure narrative of Zechariah 4 verse 6, the Lord reminds us, "Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit," highlighting that true breakthroughs emerge from divine partnership rather than human effort alone. Each prayer whispered in solitude, every tear shed in quiet desperation, sent ripples through spiritual realms, ripples that dismantled obstacles and paved avenues for your destiny. Synchronicities, encounters with mentors, sudden downloads of insight, and doors opening at the perfect moment, wove together to confirm that your separation was not a test of endurance only, but a strategic preparation for what lay ahead. Now you stand at the threshold where you must choose to embrace or retreat from your transformation. Many who experience deep separation resist acknowledging its purpose, fearful that accepting divine change will demand sacrifices too great to bear. They cling to the comfort of past certainties, even as those certainties crumble. Yet true alignment with your calling requires more than observing the signs of elevation. It calls for embodying them fully. This is your sacred moment to decide whether to step forward, carrying the lessons of isolation like a banner, or to slip back into anonymity, leaving your gifts untapped. It is here that you recognize separation not as your defeat, but as your divine schooling, a necessary passage on the road to leadership and restoration. Feel the surge of empowerment that accompanies this choice. Release the fear that your separations define deficiency rather than destiny, and declare, "I embrace my season of preparation." Let your next actions reflect this declaration. Journal the revelations born in solitude. Reach out to those who share your journey and form tribes of understanding. And invest in spiritual disciplines, such as prayer, fasting, and meditation, that strengthen the inner core the world cannot shake. Surround yourself with voices that honor your divergent path and distance from those who would dim your flame. Each step you take in faith cements your role as a guide for others navigating their own wilderness. Your test of separation was never a random act of abandonment, but the divine process of purifying and elevating your soul. The loneliness you bore was not proof of rejection, but proof that you carry a mission beyond mere belonging. Stand now, fortified by the knowledge that your isolation was a sacred preparation, shaping you into the leader who will lead the remnant home. Comment refined if your solitude has taught you truths no crowded room ever could, and prepare to reclaim your crown and guide others toward the fold they long to find. Signs of royal identity. You've carried a quiet burden from the earliest years, an awareness of unseen realities that others brushed off as daydreams or fanciful thinking. When the classroom buzzed with trivia, your mind drifted to questions of purpose you couldn't voice. At family gatherings, laughter and small talk felt like a distraction from a deeper chorus playing beneath the surface of life. You sensed currents others missed. The sorrow in a stranger's eyes, the tension beneath polite smiles, the hidden networks of spirit weaving through everyday moments. In those moments, you wondered if your sensitivity was a curse rather than a gift, something to be muted rather than celebrated. Know this: you are not alone in feeling different, and what you've experienced is not a flaw, but the first clue to your noble inheritance. Tonight, hidden codes of your spiritual lineage begin to reveal themselves, and with each insight, your royal identity grows clearer. For years, you wrestled with the confusion of having gifts that seemed to push you to the fringes. You wondered why your intuition never rested. You would sense danger long before any sign appeared, or feel a surge of compassion too intense for casual conversation. Each time you shared a profound insight, you were met with skepticism. You're too sensitive, or that's just your imagination. In your darkest hours, you questioned if you were simply miswired, too vulnerable or too intense to find a comfortable place in the world. The burden of emotional overload weighed heavily. Feelings that crashed over you like waves, dreams that felt prophetic yet dismissed as fantasy, and a perpetual longing for justice that left you restless. In those struggles, it was easy to believe your inner life was a problem, but what felt like a burden was, in truth, evidence of a royal sensitivity, encoded deep within your spirit. Then the moment arrived when you began to view your depth of insight as part of a divine blueprint rather than a personal defect. In the seldom cited prophecy of Zechariah 2 verse 12, God declares, "And the Lord will inherit Judah his portion in the Holy Land, and will again choose Jerusalem." This verse reminds us that inheritance restores and vindicates. Your intuitive gifts and emotional empathy are not random quirks, but royal birthrights, a bloodline flowing from heaven itself. When you wept at another's sorrow, you acted as a vessel of compassion designed to heal. When your dreams revealed hidden truths, you served as a living oracle. Understanding this shifted the ground beneath your feet. Your sensitivity became your strength, and every moment of deep feeling became a confirmation that your lineage was divine and unassailable. As this revelation took hold, you noticed unmistakable signs of transformation blossoming in your life. Where you once hid your deepest insights, you now felt the courage to share them and noticed how they resonated, sparking hope and clarity in others. Conversations that used to flag with misunderstanding now ignited with recognition, as if hearts awakened to truths they'd long ignored. You found yourself drawn to causes that demanded empathy, community outreach, counseling friends through crisis, championing justice for the marginalized, and discovered that your voice carried unexpected authority. Doors you never knocked upon opened, leading you to mentors who acknowledged your vision and eager collaborators who honored your gifts. These shifts were not chance, but evidence of divine timing aligning your royal sensitivity with your appointed mission. Behind these visible changes, the quiet hand of divine intervention orchestrated your ascent. Each act of faith in moments of doubt sent ripples through spiritual realms, summoning allies you could not yet see. In the obscure account of 1 Samuel 10 verse 6, when Saul is anointed king, the Spirit of the Lord will rush upon you, and you shall prophesy with them and be changed into another man. Your intuition and emotional depth are the markers of that same Spirit moving within you. Where you once faced isolation, hidden networks of support now converge around your anointing. Synchronicities, chance encounters, unexpected confirmations, doors opening at precise moments, demonstrate that your gifts attract divine favor and community, not derision. Your royal sensitivity, honed in solitude, now commands attention and respect. At this crossroads, many hesitate to embrace their depth for fear it will draw more scrutiny or demand greater responsibility. They cling to anonymity rather than risk exposure, afraid that their sensitivity will only invite pain. But true alignment demands that you not just recognize your royal codes, but embody them fully. This is your sacred moment, to choose vulnerability over suppression, to unveil your gifts rather than conceal them, and to step into the role your lineage has prepared. Embracing your intuition and empathy is not a concession to fragility, but a declaration of strength. It marks the transition from hidden heir to visible leader, ready to guide others with the wisdom your bloodline has bestowed. Feel the surge of empowerment rising within your chest. Release the final tendrils of shame that once whispered your feelings were too much, and declare, I honor the royal sensitivity within me. Let your next steps reflect this embrace. Share your insights in spaces that crave awakening. Mentor those who now recognize their own gifts in your example, and cultivate spiritual practices that deepen your connection to divine wisdom, such as journaling dreams, meditative listening, and prayer for clarity. Surround yourself with kindred spirits who honor your depth and discard voices that would still call your gifts a liability. Your intuitive insight and emotional empathy are not accidents, but crown jewels of your sacred lineage. They are the hidden code that reveals your royal identity and equips you to lead with compassion and wisdom. Stand now, bathed in the light of your divine inheritance, ready to awaken the world with the depth only you can provide. Comment inherited if you see your intuition and empathy as crown jewels, and prepare for the awakening process that draws the world to your throne of truth. The awakening process. You've spent too long feeling as though a veil obscured your true identity, as if every step forward was shadowed by uncertainty. You've wrestled with the sense that something vital was hidden from you, an inkling that the life you live is only half of your story. In those moments, doubt whispered that perhaps you were destined to wander without direction, to dream without fulfillment. You are not alone in this struggle. Many chosen souls have stood at the threshold of destiny, yearning for a spark to light their path and reveal the name written into their spirit. Tonight, that spark ignites. Hidden masks are falling away, and ancient prophecies begin to resonate within your heart. Your awakening process has begun, and with each step, the truth of who you are becomes more vibrant and undeniable. In the days before this awakening, confusion reigned supreme. You questioned why doors remained closed despite your best efforts, why your prayers seemed to echo back unanswered, and why the gifts you longed to share felt stifled by forces beyond your control. Each rejection etched another line of frustration into your soul. The job you felt called to slipped through your grasp. The relationships you nurtured crumbled unexpectedly, and the visions that filled your mind were dismissed as impractical fantasies by those you trusted. You carried the weight of purpose unfulfilled, yearning to break free from inertia, but unsure how. The ache of unrecognized potential sat heavy in your chest, whispering that perhaps you were chasing illusions rather than living on purpose. Yet even in that darkness, something deep within you resisted total surrender, holding fast to the sense that your story was far bigger than the disappointments you endured. Then, in a moment of quiet revelation, you sensed that your confusion was part of a divine plan, a necessary stage in the unfolding of your awakening. In the seldom quoted encouragement of Zephaniah 3 verse 14, sing aloud, O daughter of Zion, shout, O Israel. We glimpse the ancient call to celebrate the return to true identity. This shout is not for the faint of heart. It is an anthem for souls emerging from exile. Your past uncertainties were not signs of failure, but the shadows cast by hidden light, preparing you to recognize your true self when the time was right. As the veil lifts, the questions that once haunted you transform into catalysts for discovery, guiding you toward revelations that resonate with every fiber of your being. The awakening process begins when confusion gives way to clarity, and the soul remembers its divine inheritance. As clarity replaces confusion, you start to see the first signs of transformation in your life. The dreams you once doubted now pulse with renewed energy. Visions of purpose that once felt distant begin to align with real-world opportunities. Conversations that once felt inconsequential now blossom into revelations, as unexpected mentors and allies recognize the spark of destiny within you. Doors that remained stubbornly shut begin to swing open with uncanny timing. You may receive an invitation to speak where you least expect it, or find resources materializing to support a vision you barely dared to articulate. These shifts are not random occurrences, but unmistakable markers of divine timing. Each breakthrough, each moment of synchronicity, signals that the universe is aligning to support the emergence of your higher calling. The masks fall away, and your soul stands unveiled in the light of its own truth. This awakening is not a fleeting experience, but a lifelong process of returning to the throne you were born to occupy. Celebrate every revelation, every door that opens, every moment of clarity that pierces the fog of doubt. Embrace the hidden truths now coming to light, for they are the roadmap to a life of purpose, power, and profound impact. Come and awake if you feel these revelations stirring in your spirit, and stand ready to reclaim the inheritance that is your birthright. The awakening process has begun, and your destiny awaits. Reclaiming your inheritance. You've spent so long piecing together fragments of your story, whispers of purpose here, a fleeting sense of destiny there, only to feel the ground shift beneath your feet when trials came. You can almost taste the bitterness of disappointment when a promise fell through, the ache of loss when relationships fractured, and the sting of rejection when your gifts were overlooked. In those moments, you wondered if your calling was ever more than an echo in the wind, destined to slip through your grasp. Tonight, that story ends. You are no longer a seeker, sifting through fragments of truth. The time has come to reclaim your inheritance in full, to stand as the heir you were born to be, and to let no doubt shake the foundation of your royal identity. Hidden pathways now open before you, revealing the crown that awaits your claim. You've walked a path marked by displacement, separation, and the slow unraveling of every certainty you once held dear. In those lonely hours, you questioned your place in the world, wondered if your sensitivity wasn't a curse, if your dreams weren't simply delusions, if your gifts weren't destined to remain buried beneath layers of hurt. Yet here you stand, on the brink of something far greater than you ever imagined. You are not alone in this journey. Many chosen souls have tasted the bitterness of exile, only to find that their very separation was the gateway to their true inheritance. Tonight, hidden truths converge and reveal one undeniable reality. You are the hidden heir to a sacred kingdom, and everything you have endured was leading to this moment of awakening. Your royal identity was hidden to protect you, but now the veil is lifted. Subscribe if you haven't yet, like this video, and comment, "I am chosen to let this message anchor in your soul." Share it with someone who needs to hear this. Thank you to all supporting members for fueling this awakening. They hid your crown, but they could not hide the king within you. Rise now, your kingdom awaits.